Hi, this is Firth-Young, and in this video I want to show you how to make these gorgeous flowers out of these petal or leaf shape stamps on JOFY147, which was released in March 2026. So super cute little petally shapes that you can use for lots of things. I'm going to use them to create these flowers. What I would do with these is I would stamp several or like loads of the two shapes, some big, some small, and then just sit and colour them, which is what I've done here. Lots of them. So that's what I've done with those. So let's move those to one side. And here are some that I stamped and coloured earlier, and with a button as well. So that's what you're going to need to make them in the same way as I've done. So I've sewn a button onto the centre of mine. You could use another piece of coloured cardstock if you wanted to, or you could use gems, but I really like buttons on things, so I use buttons, and different sizes as well. So I'll show you those later. But so buttons. So we're going to need buttons. You're going to need some thread to sew the buttons on with. And the other thing you're going to need is a circle of white card. So let me just punch one or two of those out. So I'm just using standard cardstock and a 1-inch hole punch, or, you know, it's not quite a hole punch. It's a big hole punch, but it's an inch. And we need that because when you put these petal shapes side by side, they don't really meet up in the middle. So it makes it tricky to stick to a card background. So what we're going to do, we're going to make one single flower out of all of them. Let's just slide those to the back like that. Give myself a bit of space. So you're going to take your inch circle, and you're going to put glue around the outside, not in the middle. Don't put it in the middle, because we want the middle left free and dry of glue, because we're going to sew into it. And then you're going to place your 3 petals on that round of white card, and then try and aim all the centres of your petals into the centre of the round of card, like that. So don't worry if on one you can see white card. Can you see that? Wait for it to dry a little bit and then just snip it off. Nobody's going to see the back, so it doesn't matter. You just don't want that white card to be seen from the front, really. So trim it off until you don't see any. So it looks like that. And then we're going to pierce holes. So you find a piece of foam or something. So I've got a sanding block. So you would pierce as many holes through the centre of the flower as you've got holes in your button. My button has 2 holes, so you're just poking 2. I don't really concern myself too much as to how close they are, because once you've sewn through them front to back several times, it will find its centre, and don't worry about it. So I like to have the thread visible at the front to make a sort of a feature of the fact it's been sewn on. So I think this really is the trickiest bit, sewing the button on. So I try and hold on to the threads. So I've started with my threads, my loose end at the front of the flower, and now I'm just going to sew it several times. Sew it so it's nice and secure. So I'm holding on to that thread, and then I can just go through. Flip it over and find the the hole again. So of course, once you've sewn your button onto your flower, you could also be sewing it through your card at the same time, rather than sewing it onto one and then doing it a second time. You could be sewing it straight through the substrate you're attaching it to if you wanted to. So I've used white cotton, but you could use whatever colour cotton you like. I could have gone for a contrast cotton. I could have gone for a sparkly thread. Whatever you like. So I've got 2 threads on the front of the flower. So now I can just tie that in a loose knot, or not a loose knot, tight knot with loose ends. But if you'd rather see it neat at the front without any loose ends, you can just sew the loose threads to the back. And then I cut them off, and there's your flower. So what you could do, so that's that flower. You can, variations of it are, you can double up your button. So I've got it's about a 5 centimetre button, and what I've added on top is a teeny tiny flower button. Let me see if I can get, there we are, teeny tiny flower button. How cute is that? On this flower, it's 2 layers. So what I've done is I have taken the small flower. Let's grab a big flower. I've taken the small flower, sewn the button on, and then attached 3D foam to the back and placed it on top, which gives me that. And you can see the 3D foam there. But it gives you that nice image, the nice dimensional flower. The other one is to lay the petals so that they up and over each other. So if we look at this one, this petal is on top, this is underneath, and in the next flower along, let's call it the right hand flower is on top, left hand flower is underneath, right hand flower on top, and then it goes round. So it kind of interlaces as it goes round. It just tucks the petals inside each other a little bit. So those are the flowers. So I hope you enjoyed that. If you've got any questions, pop them in the comments. Can't wait to see what you make with them. Take care. Bye.